Hello and welcome to this comprehensive course on Python-based machine learning, data science, and artificial intelligence. So far, we have done six lectures in this chapter 3, and this is seventh lecture. However, between sixth and seventh lecture, two important bonus lectures were included: lecture 6B and lecture 6C. So those who have not done them, they are requested to first do them. Okay. Now, actually, we wanted to start with this. Name of the chapter itself is built-in data structure, object-oriented programming, and GUI building. We did this much part already, built-in data structures, in which we did about list, then we did about tuples, then we did about dictionaries, then we did about sets. Now we want to do, we also did how comparison of properties of this each type of built-in data structures can be made. Now we want to do the user-defined data structures, or that is now we want to introduce the concept of class and objects, that is the object-oriented programming. Okay. Before that, I want to give some intuitive primer of what this object-oriented programming is. So here, Python is an object-oriented programming language. So everything in Python is an object. That means even when we did not specify, we have already been using objects from almost the very first line of code which we wrote. So for example, when we instantiate an integer or a float or a string, then at that time, or we are creating user-defined objects, built-in objects also. They are basic data types. They are slightly complex data types also, but they are also built in Python. They are list, tuple, set, or dictionary. We have seen all this. So whenever we create a list, or whenever we create a set, or whenever we create dictionary, or int, or a float, or a string, we are creating actually objects. And we need to define then what is the need of this class and object introducing that separately. The reason is often the built-in data types are not enough, and we need to create custom objects. For example, suppose you want to declare a car named Ford, then can you declare just like this, car equals Ford, just like you write x equals 5 to instantiate one integer, or just like you write name equals ages to instantiate one string? No, we cannot write like this because there is no built-in data type. This will instantiate a string only. But I want to instantiate a car with all its properties. That it is a car which is having some body and which is having some engine and which is having some particular color of paint, and its capacity, CC, engine capacity is this much and horsepower is this much. So if I just instantiate this, then that will just be a car Ford. And then if I again instantiate it, then the previous name will be overwritten and car will become Mercedes. Okay, so then that is this is just a string getting initiated. But I want both these cars to come into existence simultaneously with their different properties. Okay, so Ford has a different price, it has a different size, it has a different CC, engine capacity, then it has a different horsepower, different paint. Mercedes will have some totally different values for this property. So this type of thing is not helpful. Similarly, if I want to create two dogs, that Tommy and Leo. Now a dog also has certain properties. Like every dog has some tail, every dog will have some color, every dog will have some breed, every dog will have some shape of ears, and so on. Not only that, for this both car and dog, there are, just like there are properties, there are certain functionalities associated with them. A car, then it can accelerate, it can be braked, then it can be steered by steering wheel. Then similarly, a dog will have functionality that it will bark, then it will eat. So the question is how to create this kind of complex objects which has not only some properties but also some functionalities, and how to create different objects from same. Okay, so there from same a kind of template. So we can't do this kind of declaration because there is no built-in data structure named vehicle, or that means here vehicle is okay, but no built-in data structure like named car or dog in Python, or for that matter in any other programming language. There are no such data structures. So whenever such complex data structures are required, so we create user-defined data structure that are, say, car. We create a car data structure, or we create a dog data structure, and then we create objects from that. Okay, by assigning dog equals, and therefore also their method also is not, the method of creating a dog named Leo is also not like this thereafter, that you don't have to assign, but there is some other method that we will see. But we can first create a data structure, and then we can instantiate our required car, Ford or Mercedes, and our required dog, Tommy or Leo, as we need. Okay, so the process of creating such complex objects that requires defining a class and then instantiating the class, or instantiating the class, that is itself called creating an object. So an object is nothing but an instance of the class, and a class is nothing but a template or a blueprint or a die from which multiple objects can be instantiated or created. Okay, so this is one important thing. Still, this diagram makes everything clear. Okay, for example, this is the blueprint of a car. Okay, it is a class car. Now inside some methods, attributes or properties will go. Attributes means every car will have a car, a color. Every car will have a engine size. Every car will have a body size. So suppose I just make a simple car class which has only two attributes, color and size. And in the size also I have only two possible values, small and big. So this is my car class, and now it has two properties, color and size. If I enter into the class, that means if I introduce some values for that property, say color is equal to blue and size is equal to big, then this object car from this class car comes into existence. Okay, so this is a template, this is a die, this is a blueprint from which multiple cars can come into existence. This is a real object, a real car which has come into existence, whose color is blue and whose size is big. Okay, similarly from same template or same blueprint, now I want to create this car, so I will introduce this property, attribute or property, color equals red and size equals small. So in that case, I will create this kind of car. Okay, so now you are understanding that this is class, this one is class, and these two are objects. When some class has some values assigned to its attributes, then a specific object is created. Now not only attributes are there, but some methods are also there, or some functions are there. But for objects, usually functions word is not used, otherwise they are just like functions, but methods word is used. So there are methods. Every car class will have some method, like for example accelerate method. Okay, then it will have some other method, maybe say what you can give to it, what method you will give, then accelerate, apply brake method. So this car will also, blue car will also have accelerate and apply brake method, and red car will also have apply brake and accelerate method, like that. Okay, so now you are understanding the meaning of this sentence, that a class is a template or blueprint or die from which multiple objects can be instantiated, and an object is nothing but an instance of the class only. Okay, so with that much background, we will go back to our Jupyter notebook and we will continue that in a moment. So let us now start a formal discussion on object-oriented programming in Python. Object-oriented programming is also called OOP or OOPS concept in Python. Now this is a programming paradigm which uses objects to design applications and computer programs. It utilizes many techniques from previously established paradigms like modularity, polymorphism, and encapsulation. These three are the most important property of any object-oriented language. Java is also object-oriented language. C++ is also object-oriented language. So they all have this common property: modularity, polymorphism, encapsulation. Regarding this encapsulation, there are some debates. If you refer to Wikipedia, Wikipedia will say that Python is not a pure object-oriented language. The reason is that the encapsulation is not perfect. Now, what is the meaning of that? Encapsulation is not perfect or not strict. That we will see just in a while. So here we delve into detail of OOPS concept and in the context of Python. Okay. So first, let us see what are the fundamentals of every object-oriented programming. So object-oriented programming languages are built around the concept of objects, which are nothing but instances of class. We have already done the discussion, so we now know that the red car and the blue car, they were the objects, but they were created as an instance of a class car, which was nothing but a template or a blueprint. Now, this class can be thought as a blueprint for the object, or it is actually nothing but a user-defined data structure. Every class has two things: certain definite attributes and certain definite properties. For example, which are called methods. Attributes and properties are same thing. Certain definite attributes and certain definite methods. Okay. So attributes, for example, for that car class, the attribute can be color of car and the size of car. And the properties or methods can be accelerate, apply brakes. So these two can be the method which every car should have. Okay. Then providing the initial values for state. that is the function of attributes. So attribute decide the state of the object, and an object can keep on changing its state. Okay, and implementation of behavior, that is the functionality of methods or functions. But as I earlier also said that if they are functions which are defined inside the class definition, then better word will be method. They are one and the same thing, but this kind of terminology is used to distinguish clearly that this is a method belonging to some class. So in short, state of the object is decided by its attributes, and behavior of the object, that is decided by method. State of the car, color red, size big, color blue, size small. So that size and color, they are attributes. Behavior, accelerating, applying brakes, that is decided by method. Okay, and there are some more concepts also, but three most important concepts which every object-oriented programming language must have are modularity, polymorphism, and encapsulation. So class from which object is instantiated, this is the blueprint from which object is created. Then there is inheritance. Now what is that inheritance, that I will tell you. Then there is encapsulation, that also we will discuss later on. And then there is polymorphism, we will need to discuss, and abstraction. So we will need to discuss these words, these four words: inheritance, encapsulation, polymorphism, and abstraction. Now why this encapsulation is not strict with Python? So actually whenever some methods are defined inside a particular class definition, then that methods are not usable or even accessible from outside in most of the true object-oriented programming languages. That is, for example, Java, or for example, C++. They enforce strict encapsulation. But if in case of Python, even if some method is defined inside, for example, there is a class dog and there is a method, for example, speak, that is written, so that means it is a function. Okay, so function inside the class, that is itself a method. So that method is not that strictly encapsulated. That means there are ways to access that method, and we will see also that in Python. So Python does not impose strict encapsulation. It just trusts the programmers and the users of the code. Obviously, users of the code will be another programmers only, because the end user will just see some graphical user interface in which his app will work. He will never have access to the code. So Python believes that the programmers are mature, they are adults, and therefore they will not mess inside the methods which are there. So there are no private methods inside in Python. In other programming languages, you can define or qualify a method as private. Once it is that private word is attached, thereafter that method is not accessible from outside. Okay, so that restriction does not exist. Now many people think that that is a weakness of Python, and some people say that that is a strength of Python or a feature of Python. So there are opinions about it, but due to that reason, Wikipedia or many other sources say that Python is not a strict object-oriented programming language. I have included one such markdown cell to on an interesting discussion about this. That this was the quote from the creator of the Python. That I think we are all consenting adults here. So that means consenting adults means if you go to somebody's house as a guest, then obviously you will confine yourselves to the living room. You will not enter into the bedroom. That is expected from an adult. There is no need to put a guard with a gun on the bedroom door so that guests will not barge into the bedroom. Okay, so that is the meaning, that we are adults, we know where boundaries are, and we will follow that. So Python in that way is very trusting language. Okay, it is, that is also that sentence is also applicable in this type declaration. So in some programming language you have to specify the type, that int x equals 5. Python just says x equals 5. So that means it is not strictly typed or strongly typed language. It is dynamically typed language that we have seen earlier. Okay, I have included these two hyperlinks where you can read more about these things. Okay, and this is Python's attitude about private class members. Okay, and that means there are no private members which Python doesn't have. So there is nothing declared as private and nothing strictly assigned private which outsiders cannot access. It is assumed that the other programmer who is using the code of some other code written by other programmer will not mess with the methods which are defined inside the class. Okay, so then Perl is also another language which is culturally similar to Python. So Perl says that a Perl module would prefer that you stayed out of its living room, that is its class definition, because you weren't invited. If you were not invited, then it will prefer not because it has a shotgun. So that means there is no bouncer put at the door which will prevent you from entering the living room. But it assumes that you are an adult person, you have the manners, you know that if you are not invited, then you will not go in. Okay. So while these two two programming languages, C++ and Java, they do not have the same philosophy. They have the philosophy that if a method is to be prevented from being accessed from outside, then one should be able to declare it as private. Okay. Now then, this is discussion about it. Now again, this is not a discussion about superiority or inferiority of one programming language over other or another. So this is just a feature. One has to be aware of this fact, and that is why Python object-oriented paradigm is not even used that much compared to other programming languages. So in Python, there are quite many number of ways in which you can design the most complex application without using the word class and object anywhere. Okay. So that is one thing about this. Now let us see what is a class. Now in the code, we have already done intuitive explanation of what is a class, that blueprint of car, and what is an object, then that red car and blue car. Okay, we have seen that a class has attribute or properties and a class has certain methods. Okay, so now we want to see the same thing with a code. What is a class and what is an object using code? But that we will take in the next lecture. Thank you.